Howdy folks, my name's Darren from RC Scale Models, and today I have another kit. This is a large kit. This is from Great Wall Hobbies. It's the 132 scale Flying Tigers Curtis Hawk A1/A2, which is also known as the P40 Flying Tigers. It's a very large kit. It's a full interior premium edition aircraft, so this is their first run, so you get a couple of goodies, which is up the top. You get a patch and some engine detail parts. Let's take a closer look at this one. So we get a nice print on the box art of the Flying Tigers. What we get around the rest of the box will be this way up. So we have obviously the writing. We have, like I say, mentioned, it is a full interior detail. Sadly though, how much you're going to see of that I don't know. We do get a pilot figure, hopefully he's resin. We shall see. Some of the CAD images, some of the stuff down the side. This side of the thing, here's the box or kit number, L3201. And then another marking option. This is just Flying Tiger version, so if you wish to do a different type of Hawk out of it, you probably have to get your aftermarket decals and source it yourself. Who doesn't like a Flying Tigers? They're probably one of the most famous P40s out there, or Curtis Hawk. Now we're greeted with the paperwork. We get tons of stuff in there, the instructions. We've got, looks like a correction sheet, some decals, massive call out. Yeah, that's going to be your paint, so we'll take a closer look at that. Tons of plastic. Here's your patch at the bottom. No idea what's in here. Oh, this looks like guns, so hopefully there might be resin or something. Hopefully they're nicely done, or they could be metal. Let's take a look. So here's the paperwork for the instructions. So there's a correction sheet and other bits of paper. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. So you've got your call outs and stuff and your worksheet. It's quite a large page. Unfortunately, for some reason this is not stapled, but this is everything within the kit. All your sprues, your decal options, so it gives you a rough idea what you get. It looks like we get a mast set. There is a little bit of photo etch. I don't see any metal stuff for the guns, so there must be a plastic, what was in that white box. And then basic tools and stuff, which is pretty standard for all kit manufacturers to do this now. It's just pay attention to your symbols. Colour callouts, they are Mr. Hobby colours. So, and if you down here is the basic colours in form. So if you don't use Mr. Colour, you can just match it. So it'd be like white, black, red. You get your drift. Basically, just read them off. Now, the worksheet itself, very first step, they're asking for you to work with the seat belts and the seat. So it's typical cockpit area. I have got a aftermarket set coming for this from Quinta, I think, is doing this. So I won't be using the metal, I'll be using the Quinta stuff for it. But there is a little bit of aftermarket out there for this already. So this is what you want to do if you're not going to do aftermarket, you want to do it straight out of the box. Instrument panel, you got this dial, individual dials as decals, which is a nice touch as well. How much you're going to see of this, especially if you have the pilot figure in there as well, you probably won't see an awful lot. If you're putting the pilot figure in, obviously I don't think you do the seatbelt this arrangement, you probably do it slightly different, because you probably want the straps over his shoulders as well. So again, side walls, and then up here, continue with the cockpit area. So we have the pedals, this is the instrument panel, this is a side. This all gets sandwiched together now basically to make this tub assembly. Then the inside of the cockpit area probably needs a little bit of clean up. I'm not sure how bad the ejector pins are. Hopefully they're not too bad, especially being a full interior. Hopefully they've worked it out so some of the parts may be hidden behind certain parts. we shall see. This, I don't know what this is. This may be oxygen tanks. I'm not too sure. And we have a couple of bulkheads going in. More bulkheads. This section, I don't know, could be radio equipment. This section here is up the top. I don't know what that's for. But then once it's all done, it slowly builds your way up. But so this is all internal details. And obviously you've got your colours as you work your way along. So most of it probably like silvers and interior greens and stuff. Now the other side, sadly, what I can see just for a quick glance in the box, there's no clear. So when you come to sandwich it together like a normal aircraft, you're going to lose all that detail. How you're going to display it one side open, I don't know if you can, or I don't know what you're going to do. But sadly, all that internal detail, looks like you are going to lose it once it's covered, which is a bit of a shame. If you're not a fan of full interior kits, then obviously this kit's not for you, but I don't know. Once you've sandwiched it together and put the cockpit in, you've got this finished art subject section. And we have some structural parts at the back. Looks like part of the nose up the top, covering the top part. A couple of detail parts on the side, and the tail is going together. We do have flaps and the rudder and tail starting to go together. Doesn't look they're posable though. Looks like they are fixed. There goes your rudder. Again, it doesn't look like it's posable. A little bit of surgery probably. You can get it to work. The undercarriage section. Couple of call outs, and there's two different parts maybe, I don't know, but I know inside the wheel well it needs to be painted like a fabric colour. I don't know how well the detail is for the fabric, we shall see. Now we have the guns going in and the outer cover for the guns, so there is no hatches to see the guns. Then we have the rudder and flaps and ailerons going in, and now this is the flight stick on top of the wing section, so this middle section is going to have to be painted as well, because obviously that's the cockpit floor technically, so that's a weird way of doing it. Now if you want the flaps down, they're giving you full photo etch option for all the individual slats on the photo for the flap, if you're having the flap open and it'd be visible. A couple of photo etch options at the front, and then the rest of it on your flaps. But if you're having it completely closed, you just slot them in and you won't worry about none of this photo etch here. Just pop them straight in. And now we're attaching the fuselage and the wings together, and these wing side pieces. Hopefully that all fits nicely and there isn't too much of a bad seam. But again, this section up here is to do your flaps. In goes your seat from the top. So remember, when you've got that flight stick pointing upwards and this drop down on top of it, just be super careful you don't catch it and bend it and break it. Underside now, we've got some piping. More photo etch parts. I have no idea what they are. Then we have a cover covering all that piping, which is the main lower centre spine, if you want to call it that. Now it's the full landing gear option, so you've got your wheels, looks like one piece, the centre caps, you've got a decal option on some of them, landing gear sections as well for the main struts, and then that's just building your landing gear up as you work your way along. So this looks like the right and the left. Now this section here is for your landing gear folded, so if you want it in flight, so it's slightly different. And then attaching landing gear. So do you get two options in the kit, so you can do it folded or not folded. The tail going in of the tail wheel, this is the landing gear down, landing gear up, folded tail wheel, so the tail wheel's not there if you've got it in flight. Now this is the nose section. This looks like the radiator intake section and the part of your nose, and the cowling's going again. There is no engine detail on this section, but you have got your exhaust pipes coming out. This is the top of the nose. This makes up the nose chin, and then you've got your, is it louvers or the little cowlings at the bottom that open up, and then another piece at the bottom. So this makes up one option of the cowling being closed. I do know in this circle centre there is a magnet that goes in. Now you get the option of making an engine version. So if you want a full engine detail, which is this section as you work your way along. I couldn't tell you what some parts are because I have no idea. So you're working your way along all of the engine. It's very nice. Now you've got plumbing and piping. It looks like the wiring for spark plugs maybe. And then you've got the structural parts for the engine mounts. Looks very nicely detailed. I don't think you need to add anything to this because it's got all the wiring that it requires. All this red is all the piping and plumbing, so having this option is going to be much better than the closed option. I think it's going to look so much better. Working your way on, you've got the bulkhead now. You've got two boxes behind that. They're probably to do with coolant or maybe a battery box, or I don't know. I'd have to read up on it and do some research on the engines and work out what these parts are for, because I've no idea. But again, all these red segments is all plumbing, so this is going to be some impressive kit and some impressive little engine as you work along. That's a nice touch. If you don't want to use the engine on your kit, you could display it as a separate piece. So that's going to be a small kit in itself. Very nice. I like that. Now, this is the section when I was on about with the magnets. You can swap the fronts out, so that's a nice touch. Propeller assembly or prop is pretty basic. You've got your 3 blades and then you've got your nose going in. This is the option to swap them out. Then you've got visible engine and closed option. Again, if it's all closed up, all that internal detail, which is a bit of a shame, I'm not going to see any of it. Cockpit options, open or closed canopy, which is pretty standard for aircraft. We have the side hatches for maintenance, and I think also they store a medi box inside maybe. Canopy option, which is your masks. Hopefully they're die cut. I think they will be, hopefully, not like Tamiya where they're not. Now you get your pilot figure. Is he resin on or is he not? I don't think he is. I think he's plastic, to be honest. But then you got your colour code for your figure. So it's like a khaki pants, brown flight jacket, pretty standard US pilot or pilot of the war. So that's that. This giant page is colour callouts, all of the options for Flying Tigers. Let's move the camera out. So here are all your options for your Flying Tigers. So you got number 7, number 48, 60, 68, number 77, number 7, which is the other side. So this is the other side profiles. And then we've got number 75 down the bottom here, which has also the UK roundel on it, which is slightly different. The tiger mouths, they're all tiger mouth options, which is famous for Flying Tigers. It's a winner in my opinion. I think it looks really cool with a tiger mouth, really aggressive. I do like this tiger mouth, not so much that one because it's too fat. Not so much on that one, but I like this one, and this one for the mouths. Which one will I do? I have no idea, because they're all good in my opinion. And that's it pretty much. The camo schemes are pretty much all the same, so this will be the top of your wings, and the other side and the side profile will be pretty much the same. The underside, does it give you the colours for the underside? I think it's like a light grey, and then it's a dark earth and dark green, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the other parts. This is the fuselage. So there's your all 3 flaps and all your detail parts. Pretty standard. It's very thin. I think that's some of your seatbelt options here and here. So you will have to paint them, but as I say, I'll be upgrading it to Quinta, which is all pre-coloured for me. And these circle pieces is for the those circle radiator pieces on the front. Oh, sorry about that, neighbour started to do DIY. Right, this is a correction sheet, so there was something to do with the pedals and this piece and the flaps. Something to do with the engine, so just be aware of that. Here is your decals and your mask, and you've got a couple of pieces else in here. So you get this little card, which is nice. The Flying Tigers. It's a bit like a trump card or information card. Here is your masks. Yep, they are die cut, which is a nice touch. So no need to buy an aftermarket mask like from Edward or anything, so these should fit perfectly fine. First set of markings, doesn't say who they're printed by, but I think they're printed by GWH itself, but they're very nice and crisp and sharp. Here's the roundels, and then the Flying Tiger symbols. Is it Chinese? Is it the symbol? And then the segment for the wheel covers. And then we have the famous shark mouths, which is pretty cool. So once you've done one of your Flying Tigers, you've got other markings for other aircraft later on, or other shark mouths. And then here's the rest of the markings with the serial numbers, walkways I think, and the Flying Tiger symbols, some of the ladies, and stencil data at the bottom, and then these individual circles here and all the way along here are to do with the instrument panels. Carrier film looks pretty good, pretty close. They are on the flat side. And then there's obviously those circles for instrument panels. You probably could get away with using them, but I am going to upgrade to, I think it's Quinta. So straight off the bat, we're going to work with plastic. I'm going to adjust this camera again slightly. So this is the wings. As you can see, you've got the lower wing section, upper wing section, and then part of your seat assembly, a couple of detail parts. These are the section for the front where the guns go through, and then there's a couple of parts there, which is fine. And then these pieces on the end here, I think is where your exhaust gets moulded into, and then this clips on the inside. Here's the surface detail. It is riveted all over. Nicely done. How accurate it is, I don't know. I ain't no rivet counter, so it's nice that it's there. It's going to take a nice wash. It is all recessed. A couple of raised sections like it should be, like this centre spine is all raised. It looks like stitching, but you've got all piping that goes all the way along here, and then you've got a centre spine cover to cover it all up. Here's the upper wing section again, all nicely done. Your guns go through. This is all the centre floor for inside the cockpit, so this has to be masked off slightly and painted the interior green. These plates, I believe, is where your the pilot feet will go, so they'll be chipped up and stuff. Nicely done. And here's part of the seat assembly, and a couple of pieces, don't know what they're for. and then there's those access ports for your guns to go through, which sit in these notches here. We have ailerons and flaps. So we have the rudder, flaps, here's that spine that goes through the middle, the landing gear segment, which is the wheel wells, just has the fabric in them, the main tail and stuff like that. This is the tail at the back, the little tail dragger one. This is the open version, this is the closed, and then your fabric flaps. So here's the texture and image of the flaps. Here's that nice lines for fabric texture. Your smaller wings, again, there'd be the metal sections which are riveted. Here is inside your wheel well, that's like a fabric texture. Here's that main spine. More flaps. Open and closed doors at the back. More flaps. And a couple of small detail parts down the bottom. So yeah, nicely done. Now this sprue here is internals. So this is the cockpit area. These are support struts, landing gear, closed doors, bulges for, I'm not sure actually. This is cockpit section, piping, more instrument panel, which the decals have to go onto. Radio equipment here, I think. So here is the part of the cockpit area. Support struts. There's your landing gear legs. All the piping, internals, more piping. Again, some of this I don't know what I'm looking at. Looks like some of the machine guns. Here is your instrument panel, which has to be painted and decaled and whatever. But again, I am going to get the a 3D printed one or something like that. Looks like we are missing something here, but there was nothing in the bag, so I don't know. This is all to do with engine and stand, and there is a couple of other sprues that has the rest of it. They started to put staples on their bags as well, like Edard. Oh, sorry, Tammy. So this is part of the engine block. This is part of the front of the engine. All your piping and detail parts, tubing. This is the base. Here is the framing for the engine. This is the stand. So nice small detail parts. As part of your engine block. Front parts of your engine. Piping, detail parts, basic stand, parts of the engine, top of the engine. I'm not sure which engine this aircraft has. If anyone knows, feel free to let me know. Now in this sprue we have the closed cowling section. These are part of the wing slot assembly. These are the tanks. I'm not sure what they are, if it's oil, fuel or oxygen, I'm not sure. I have to check my reference books and see what they are. These are the front sections. Here's your main prop or propeller. These are the cowlings. So here's the front nose, left and right sides. These are those wing slots. One of your tanks, giant propeller. This is part of the front nose, the part of your nose cone here. Well, these sections are flaps and fuselage halves. Again, like I mentioned, there's no clear segments, so I don't know how you're going to show your details off unless you can leave one of these sides off. I don't know if you can do that or not. It doesn't mention it in instructions. Some of your doors, these are your sides, fuselage and flaps. So again, same raised and recessed details where it's needed. And this is what we get for internal details. So there are a couple of ejector pins, but hopefully they're not visible. You've got parts to that get put in place so they're not visible. But you are going to have to paint all of this up, especially if you have the door open. You are going to see somewhat in there. And then these are the flaps. Can't see any ejector pins on there, but that's what these small tabs are for. They're nicely done. Other side. We have wheels. Right, these sections are for the folded wheels. You only need half because it's only going to show the bottom section and a couple of pipes. I thought it was a resin figure, but they've done it in plastic. Not bad at all. We'll focus. Exhaust tips. So there's two of these. They are somewhat hollowed out, so they'd be more than sufficient, I think. As for the main wheels, sadly they give you rubber tyres. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people like to go the resin route, I like to go resin wheels. So I might swap them out. Now in here is very fragile parts. This is all plumbing. Be careful getting this one out because I don't want to break any of this plumbing. So getting all of this off the sprue is going to be very difficult, and you have to be very careful. You're going to end up snapping these parts quite easily. You could always replace these with metal wire, with like jeweler wire, lead wire, but again they give it all in plastic, which is more than sufficient. These sections here look like the wiring for the top of the engine, the spark plug wire, I think you call it. And then second bag, more plumbing. Yeah, super fine. You have to be super careful taking this off because it's going to snap very easily. In this one we have two sprues. So these two are the same. So we have the firewall, and this is part of the engine as well, and front nose radiator system. So you're only going to, the reason why they give you two lots is because remember you've got one showing the engine and one closed, so you're going to need some of the components twice. So there's that free intake section, famous section, and there's another part of your engine. The engine firewall, again obviously you're going to need two of those, because this circle is where the magnet goes into, which I haven't come across. It's probably in the box. we have got in here, actually we've got clear parts in here. So I've done this weird shaped sprue. This is your canopy. Very nice, crisp and clean and sharp. So here's one of the bonus pieces. Right, look at it this much closer. These are machine gun barrels, 3D printed. So that's a very nice touch. So yeah, they were the 3D printed gun barrels, which is nice. Right, there you go folks, that's pretty much all of it apart from the last piece, which is your patch. I was missing a couple of pieces which I can't seem to find my magnets. Actually, there they are. Right, the magnets are in this box. So this is the patch you get with it, which is a bonus as well for doing the first order. So if you want to get this kit and the patch and stuff like that and the bonuses, you're going to have to order the very first version. The second release, I believe, is probably not going to come with this. Now I do have another piece of paper which I don't ever see. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, look, we get a giant poster type thing of one of your colour callouts. So is this 1:1 scale? So we get this giant poster again of more colour callouts, and this is a larger scale. I'm not sure if this is 1:1 scale. Hopefully it is. Where are the wings? So here's the wing section. If I roughly line that up, it looks like they are 1:1 scale. So you could either cut this up or send this to a photocopy and get a copy of this, and then you could use this as a mask, which actually is a not bad option to do. There's the lower wing section. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is 1:1 scale. So yeah, so that's a nice touch. So you could photocopy this, which I might actually go and do, and then I could chop this up and make a mask out of it. So there you are folks, there's a brand new tool, a brand new kit, 1/32 scale, Curtis Hawk or P40, however you want to pronounce it, by Great Wall Hobbies. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.